Hello and welcome to the Goldberry Artisans podcast. My name is Emily. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of you who have watched my previous episodes and commented and subscribed. I appreciate you all so much. And to celebrate reaching 100 subscribers, at the end of the episode I'm going to be sharing the giveaway that I have for you, which is super exciting. So stay tuned for that. I'll include a link to where you can enter the giveaway and all that good stuff in the description. But you can find show notes over on my blog, goldberryartisans.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at goldberryartisans. So, to begin today, I just want to say, and I said this last time too, I'm so happy that it's finally actually fall. I was excited about it feeling like fall last week, but then it got hot again, and now it's even cooler than it was last week, which makes me so happy. I love fall. It's the best. Oh, and on talking about previous episodes, I'm still trying to work out a good schedule right now for recording, because actually my last episode, I recorded it on a Monday, and I think I uploaded it maybe on like a Friday. So I'm not guaranteeing weekly podcasts. At this point, my goal right now is just to do every other week. So I'm really busy with school and work, and I want to podcast, but I also don't want that to become just another, I want podcasting to keep being fun and not become a chore. So to do that, right now I'll be planning on doing every other week instead of worrying about every week. And plus that gives me more time to work on projects. Since school has started, I don't have as much time to work on things. Ooh, the wind. I don't have as much time to work on projects. So you get to see more, less stress on me. Just, So yeah. Oh, I also wanted to say thank you so much to all of you who have come over from the Charm of It podcast. Eva so sweetly talked about my podcast on one of her, I think it was episode 25. And so I know that some of you are coming over from there. So Eva, thank you so much. If you don't watch her podcast, you should. She goes into such great detail about what she's making and she talks about like modifying patterns or designing patterns, which I love seeing that because that's not something I have a lot of experience in, basically no experience in. So if you are interested in that, and as she says, the nitty-gritty details of knitting projects, I highly recommend her podcast. But thank you for all of you who are checking me out, who came over from there. So yeah, now it's on to knitting. First up, what I have off the needles. The first project that I have off the needles is my Florrick Owl. And I apologize, my camera makes noise while it's focusing. There's nothing I can do about it. But this is the Florrick Owl from the Making magazine, which was edited by Carrie Bostic-Hogue, and she actually wrote this pattern. It's been on my needles for quite a while, and I finally just decided made myself finish it this week before I could cast on something else. I knit this in Knit Picks Lindy Chain, which is a linen yarn. I think it's 70% linen and 30% cotton maybe? I'm not 100% positive. I don't have the yarn with me. But it is, I talked about the color in another episode. It's kind of like a gray, it's sort of a nondescript color, which I wasn't a big fan of at first. It looked a little different on a computer screen when I bought it. There, we'll do that. So there you can see it just got this nice floral lacy detailing pattern that I love. And it's nice, lightweight, not too bulky, so nice for this in-betweeny weather right now where it's cooling down, but it's still not really cold. Not cold enough for a whole lot of wool every day, but a nice lightweight scarf. And the yarn, it's not like silky soft, but it is linen, and I haven't blocked it or anything. I haven't washed it, haven't had time to do anything like that. But I know that linen does get softer I don't know this from experience, I know this from reading. Linen does get softer the more that you use it and the more that you wash it. So I fully expect it'll probably get a bit softer, but it's nice to have right on my neck. It isn't scratchy or anything because it's linen, it's not wool. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the yarns that I'm using. Instead of just saying like, oh yeah, this is the yarn that I used for this project, I'd like to say, okay, this is the yarn, and this maybe a little bit like, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like, this is how it acted, just so that way if you want to try the yarn, you have a little bit more going in than just, oh, well, people talk about this yarn a lot, but I don't really know about it. If I can just help you out a little bit, know what the yarn, how the yarn acts, at least a little bit. Anyway, my second finished object this week, I cast this on after I recorded last time, and now it's finished. It is the violet cap. Ooh, there we go. It's a little bit darker than it's showing up on the screen. But this is the violet cap by Melissa Labar. This is also from the Making magazine. And I knit this in Quince & Co. Let me consult my notes. Quince & Co. Fink in the Malbec colorway. And this isn't blocked yet, so the lace pattern hasn't really opened up much. But you can see it's called the violet cap because the stitch pattern. It's called the violet cap because you can see the stitch pattern. It looks like you got little rows of flowers along there. So I was just really wanting a quick project. I was kind of getting itchy fingers. Like a lot of the projects that I've been working on, I had been working on for a while, or they were like lace weight, like my lace weight cardigan, and just different things. And I just wanted something different. And so sometimes when that happens to me, I end up buying yarn, even if I don't have plans for it, even if, sorry for the funky lighting coming through the trees. Sometimes when I get the itchy fingers, I will sometimes buy yarn, even if I don't need it, I don't have plans for it, but I just, instead of making something with the yarn I have, sometimes just to get that instant gratification of creative related activities, I'll buy yarn. And so, but at this time, I noticed myself doing that, like looking at different yarns and websites, and I decided, no, I have this yarn in my stash that I bought purposely to make this hat. And so I'm just going to cast it on, and just to get that quick, nice finished object. So this is basically this hat. I only had like 3 inches left on this cowl to finish it since I talked to you last. But so this hat is basically all that I've been working on this week, these past couple weeks actually. I love the color. It's sort of like a purpley red maroon sort of color, which I love. So it fits in well with my wardrobe. Super cute, nice and warm. If you have not knit with Quince & Co. before, it isn't like a super soft plump yarn. Like that's not the behavior. It's just not what kind of yarn it is. It's a tightly spun yarn, which means that it looks good, like really good stitch definition. I haven't blocked this yet, so I don't know how much that will change the yarn. Once it's blocked, I'll get back to you on that once I finally block it. But I had something else that was on my blocking pads for several days this week. We'll get to that later. So the yarn, it's tightly spun, which means good stitch definition, nice tight stitches. So I've enjoyed working with Quince & Co. the couple of times that I've used it. I look forward to using it more in different kinds of patterns and seeing how it behaves like on different size needles, and once I finally actually block and wash this. Hold on, I'm gonna move when I sat down it was overcast, but now the sun is kind of coming through the trees over on my side and it's making funky shadows. Here, actually I'll spin it around, hold on. We are going to spin this around so you can see what I'm looking at. I love the way evening light comes through the trees. Isn't this gorgeous? Ah, love it. Okay. Sorry. Figure I got a camera on a tripod, I can move it around. So, that's all that I have. Technically, off the needles. What I have currently on the needles, I haven't worked on my Florrick Owl. I've talked about it in previous episodes. I haven't touched that in the past couple of weeks. So, nothing much to say on that. Oh, I did want to say both my finished objects this week and the cardigan I'm working on are all from the Making magazine, which it's a beautiful magazine. I think this issue is sold out, the first one, the Flora issue, but there will be another one coming out soon, I think. But when I pay, I don't remember how much it was I paid for it. I had a discount. She had a discount code for Instagram followers for a little while that I used. But you know, if you pay $20, $25 for a knitting book, although this one, it's not specifically knitting, but there are different projects in it. But when you pay that much for it, I want to make sure that I use it. That's why, like, before I buy a book, if I can see a physical copy, I'll look through, see what patterns there are, think, will I actually make these patterns? But also, you can often sometimes see online, like maybe on Ravelry, if the book's been around for a little while, then you can see what people have made, see what projects are there, because I want to make it worth it. And now in the case of making, there are a lot of other projects that you can do, and the photography it's just a beautiful book to look through. But I want to make sure that I am actually creating the things from the magazine, sort of to make it worth it to me. So that's my advice. If you're looking to buy a book or subscribe to a magazine, like, kind of look through, see, is this my style? Are there things in here that I would actually make? You know, just stuff like that. I make that face when I'm kind of done talking and I don't know how to transition. I just do this awkward smile. Sorry. I make a lot of odd facial expressions. I work at a daycare, so that actually comes in handy. Sometimes if little kids are crying, you just make weird noises. Like, I normally work with, like, the babies who are under 2 years old. You just make some funny noises or funny faces, then they generally stop crying. Works out for me well. Works out well for me. Anyway, the one project that I really have on the needles right now, and it is just barely on the needles. This is a pair of socks. I had a friend just ask me if I could make a pair of socks for her. Her parents bought a pair of socks from me for her for Christmas. I don't remember if it was this past year or the year before, and she loves them. So she asked if I could make her a pair of socks. I had like 3 or 4 inches done on these, but the pattern calls for size 1.5 needles, which I do not have. So I figured I was planning on using my size 1 double pointed needles for a different project. So I was thinking, oh, well, I could use I have size 2 double pointed needles that are empty. I'll use those and just cast on the smallest size. But after I'd worked the 4 inches of the sock, I tried on, it was just too loose. So, because we have similar size feet, ankles, whatever. So I figured if it was too loose for me, it would be too loose for her. So I ripped it out and I cast on again with size 1 needles. And I just realized I didn't tell you what the pattern was. The pattern is called Gladys, and it is by the design name on Ravelry is, making sure I get this right, General Hog Buffer. But it is a free pattern. It's inspired by like Guernsey patterns. So there's like a herringbone pattern and then just different textured patterns that I thought looked really cool and definitely fit my friend's personality. And the yarn I'm using was yarn I already had in my stash. It is Knit Picks Stroll in the ash colorway. And I've worked with this yarn before. I haven't worn the socks I've made with them a lot, but it's a really soft yarn. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's 231 yards for 50 grams. Let's see where I ripped it out. So I've used this a lot. I enjoy working with it. It's nice and soft, which is good because sometimes if you're knitting things for other people, like I will tolerate with more scratchy yarns, but I'm afraid that maybe other people will not wear what I've made if it's too scratchy, and they don't really like that. So, Knit Picks stroll for me, it's not very expensive. I don't remember how much it is, but it's like definitely less than $6 a skein. And one thing about Knit Picks, they will often have sales. You can, like, I subscribe to their emails, and so I'll see if there's a big sale. Like this year they had a big 40% off summer sale, or sometimes for a month a particular yarn will be on sale. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a nice fingering weight yarn. I definitely recommend Knit Picks Stroll. I feel like that's the thing podcasters say a lot, is I definitely recommend. Okay. So, the thing that I had on my blocking mats for several days, it took it a long time to dry, was this. I pointed to this pile a couple weeks ago when I recorded inside. This is a sweater. I had all of the pieces knit a year ago, and I had sort of blocked. I hadn't really wet blocked them. I didn't have blocking mats or anything at that point. I was just pinning it right onto an empty mattress in my room because my sister was away at college, so I had an empty mattress. So I just sort of misted it, so it was kind of blocked, but not really. But I finally said, I just need to finish this. Because lately I'd been kind of dreaming about making like a stonecutter pullover, just something. I was craving something just woolly and textured and thick and warm. And so, again, I was looking at yarn and looking like, oh, maybe I could buy yarn to make this sweater. And then I thought, no. Instant gratification. I have a sweater all knit. I just need to seam it and do the neckband. So I did. This is, no, I'm going to say this wrong, Telluride Aran it's actually by Amy Herzog, and it's from an issue of Interweave Knits. I forgot to look it up, but I will include a link, or I'll put the information on the screen or anything, something like that. And it is knit in brown sheep nature spun in the limestone colorway. This is the first time I had worked with nature spun. Actually, I'd worked with their fingering weight to make a couple pairs of colorwork mittens a few years ago. And I actually got this on Ravelry D-Stash. There was the right amount to make a sweater, and I still have a partial skein left. All I had to use this skein for was the seams and the neckband. I don't remember how many skeins I bought, but I remember it was maybe like $45 or $50, and I got enough yarn to make a sweater, which is exciting. So when I cast this on, I didn't recognize the name Amy Herzog, but obviously she does all of the fit to flatter and the custom fit patterns. So I love the cables on the front. They were so much fun to knit. Looking at it again makes me really definitely want to make something cabled. And the yarn, it's not a very soft yarn. But after I blocked it, it definitely got softer, and it kind of has a much nicer drape to it. But one thing I did, you can notice, see the seam here? Yeah, the back ribbing was shorter than the ribbing on the front. You're supposed to knit the ribbing I looked up in the pattern, for 2 3/4 inches. I believe I did like 2 1/4 and then 2 3/4 on the front. But I just kind of fudged it, and when I'm wearing it, I can't see the back, so it won't bother me. I don't really care. I was not about to rip it out. I thought, this thing has been sitting here long enough, I just need to seam it. I don't care, it doesn't bother me. It was the pieces were the right length. So yeah, that is what I was calling my green shame of knittedness sitting on my shelf for a year. It's finally done, and it's finally cold enough to wear it, which is super exciting. So some more sweater talk. I'm talking a lot about sweaters. It makes it seem like I'm a mega sweater knitter, which I'm not really. But yeah, there's that sweater. So I mentioned that I bought that yarn on Ravelry D-Stash, which maybe some of you already do that, probably a lot of you do, but just in case you haven't, I figured I would talk about how I use Ravelry de-stash. Basically, you can go on Ravelry, search for the specific yarn that you want, and then you can go over to the, should say like stashed tab, like you know how they have the tabs at the top, on the top right. Click on that, and then on there's an option on the top left to select will trade or sell. And then you can see some people will often have yarn they've bought, but if they haven't used it and they're cleaning out, then they'll have it for sale. And it's generally cheaper than buying it from a local yarn store or buying it online, which I definitely like because it gives me a chance to try out new yarns that I might not have tried because it was just a really expensive investment, especially if I'm ordering online and I haven't even seen the yarn in person. That's how I originally tried knitting with Quince & Co. the first time. I got yarn on Ravelry de-stash. I just got a skein of Brooklyn Tweed Loft through Ravelry de-stash that I talked about in the last episode that I'm planning on using to make a hat. So those are just a couple of the yarns, and that's how I tried out. First time I used Malabrigo yarns was because I bought it on Ravelry. So basically, you can just see a lot of people will have the price already listed, and sometimes they'll say whether or not that includes shipping. And if not, you can message them. Not everyone will get back to you, but generally people do. And I've always gone through PayPal. You can click like PayPal and send goods or services and send it to their email address, and then they'll ship it to you. I have had a couple of people actually send me a PayPal invoice, and then I just paid the invoice, which is even easier. So that's how I buy a lot of my yarn. Just gives you a good chance to try out a yarn that you wouldn't normally try. And a lot of times it's like smaller amounts, like 1, 2, maybe 3 skeins, but you can find sweater quantities of certain kinds of yarns. Like I was looking at some of the Quince & Co. yarns, like Osprey. There's a few people selling sweater quantities of yarns, 9 or 10 skeins even. So that's definitely an option if you're looking to try out a yarn, or if you want to use a yarn that you already love and maybe make a bigger project, and that's a lot of money to spend. I know $100 for a sweater, for me right now, I just can't do it. But if you can get it on Ravelry de-stash for maybe $50, $60 instead. So if that's something you're interested in, that's definitely a good place to get yarn. And now obviously there's no guarantees of how much there will be and if there's enough in the color that you want, but it's definitely an option. And now obviously more popular yarns will have more people have bought them, and then so more people will be selling them. So if it's a really obscure yarn, it might be hard to find, but if it's a popular yarn, like I've looked at Quince & Co. and Brooklyn Tweed and Madeline Tosh and Malabrigo, you can often find people selling their yarns. So that's how I use Ravelry de-stash. If that helps you out at all, you can send me a message if my explanation wasn't clear. If you want to know more, send me a message. I don't know, comment, whatever. Talk to me on Instagram. I'm there. I don't have a lot to talk about today because I haven't worked on tons of projects this week. So now it is time for the 100 subscriber giveaway. Yay! I can't believe that so many of you have subscribed and watched, and I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, there are 3 items to give away. The first is a knitting bag. I'll undo it here so you can see the whole bag. Obviously it's a little wrinkled, but it's this gorgeous gray bag with some balls of yarn and knitting needles on it. And now this, it's from Madder Root, which is, there we go, Madder Root on Etsy. It is a Maine-based company. The tag says Maine-made, hand-printed organic linen. This bag was cut, printed, and sewn in Maine, crafted using quality organic and eco-friendly materials to make a product you will love. So I've been wanting to see. I've like followed her like on Instagram and stuff for a while, but I thought it would be really cool since I'm from Maine to include something that was made in Maine, and it's used using organic linen, which is just so cool. So it's a nice soft drawstring bag. Ooh, it's the first time I've done that. Oh. And it's a good size bag. Like, if you can tell, you could fit a lot in here. Fit a lot of yarn. So, that is the first item. The second item is a print from Kate Archer shop on Etsy. If you can see, she has so many gorgeous prints, but I love this one. Basically looks like someone has been knitting the night sky. You've got the water down here, the moon, the stars, and knitting needles on the top. She has several prints like this that incorporate knitting, so I definitely am a fan of her artwork, and her Instagram is also beautiful. Kate Archer on Instagram. I'm really sorry for the funny shadows. Anyway, keep getting distracted. That is item number 2. So we have the bag and the prints and a skein of West Yorkshire spinners, including some candy. Look at that. This is from Claire of the Woolly Thistle. She actually got in touch with me after my last episode and offered to send a skein to give away, which is so amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. I love this yarn, so I'm super happy to share it with one of you. This is West Yorkshire Signature 4-ply. West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. This is their peacock colorway from their Country Birds line. 437 yards to, I don't remember how many grams. I think it's 100 grams. 75% wool, 25% nylon, and 35% of the wool is blue-faced Leicester, which is super cool. And it's made in Yorkshire, in England, which is amazing. But Claire sells it in Maine, not in Maine, from New Hampshire. So, local to Maine. So this is a good opportunity for someone to get to try some West Yorkshire spinners, which I know I've talked about before on the podcast. So, to recap, we have Madder Root bag, the knitting print, and yarn. And how you enter. I started a Ravelry group called Goldberry Artisans on Ravelry, obviously. I think it's called Goldberry Artisans Podcast. So there's a thread, the only thread actually, where you can go and you just have to answer the question, where is your favorite place to knit? You do not have to be a member of the group. I am making absolutely no promises about actually putting things in the group. I'm really extremely bad at interacting in groups on Ravelry. I'm part of several different podcasts and stuff, part of several different podcast groups, but I just am really bad at keeping up with that. So, I'm not making any promises about actually putting stuff in the group, but I thought that seemed like the most logical way to have a giveaway, because on Instagram, the numbers aren't, there's no numbers with the comments, and so I'd have to count them. So, you can go on Ravelry, search for the Goldberry Artisans podcast group on the groups tab, and just tell me where is your favorite place to knit, and you'll be entered to win the prizes. Oh shoot, I never decided. Obviously, I haven't done this before. I did not decide on end date for that, because I don't know when this is going to be edited and uploaded. Let's see, today is September 24th. We'll say until October 20th. that should give you, once I get this uploaded, that should give you a couple of weeks to head on over and enter. So yeah, okay. Ravelry, Goldberry Artisans podcast group, until October 20th. Tell me, where is your favorite place to knit? And then at the episode after that date, I will pick a winner, and I'll get in contact with you and announce it on the podcast. And then I will send your prizes on their way. So that's so exciting! Yay! Anyway, so I just want to thank you all so much for watching and commenting and subscribing and all those lovely things. So thank you so much, and you can find show notes at goldberryartisans.com. On Instagram, I am Goldberry Artisans. I will talk about where that name came from sometime. It's gonna happen. Ravelry, I am Emily Ruth B. So, and I will have a link to the Ravelry group in the description where you can enter. Good boy. So thank you so much, and until I see you next time, happy knitting. Bye.